Alex, thank you so much for taking the time today, sir. I'm happy to have you on the show.
Oh yeah, dude, happy to be here.
So I told you a couple seconds ago in the car. Uh, I told you a couple of seconds ago. I hit you with a vague question, as I like to lead into my episodes, of if there's like a tidbit or a little something that the world may not already know about you.
I don't know, man. I do have a lot of recreational. Well, I don't know if I have a lot of recreational fun, but when I do go hard, I go the hardest in the paint. So I guess maybe that's something people don't realize. I train my ass off, and then I go incredibly hard for 48 hours, and then slightly into a week. And that might not be something people know. I don't know, man. I mean, I like to stay pretty active though, dude. I'm always, I don't know if you imagine you follow me, so you see that I'm fucking workhorse, but in between like just grinding my dick off, my chill sessions with the boys are heavy.
What's a chill session look like?
Well, especially like I said, I'm always very champ minded. So, I like to smoke, but when I prefer to smoke, it's always volcano. I like to keep it vaped, and so I keep healthy vices for sure. But it entails a lot of fight viewing, a lot of joint passing, and then in my case, I like to keep that volcano hot. So I stay ripe in the lungs, feeling good. So
I saw you after your last fight, after the Trinaldo win in the hometown. I think one of the first things you said was, "I'm going hard. I'm going hard."
That's hard. I do, man. I do. There's like I literally do the most. I mean, literally everything I do. So it's like I had one arm for a long time, and I'm swear to God, I'm doing more with one arm than most people could do with three. And by the same token, whenever that like the gloves are off and it's like finally like the weight's off your shoulders, it's like, okay, if you put it in front of me, I'm gonna fucking do it. It's like that for like a good 24 hours.
So I'm kind of curious, as someone who because yes, you're right. Even by following you and seeing on social media, workhorse is precisely the word that I would use, as I imagine you are as a worker. But how do you kind of find a balance between working incredibly hard and trying to do your best in every single thing you do, but also finding rest, relaxation, mentally being able to kind of tune things out at times as well?
Yeah, I mean that's the discipline, consistency for sure, man. Like because all of that's also work, like the times delegated to rehabilitation, the recovery, the rest, all of that's just discipline, consistency, and then you're able to do it all. I mean, just that whenever you're consistent. So like a lot of people might like crush it really hard for most of the week or part of the week, and then they kind of fall short in the evenings, or their weekends are trash, and so then they're playing recovery or catch up a lot of times in the week, and then you're spending more time like, okay, so instead of using those weekends to, I mean, just a continuation of your week, now you're playing catch up. Now you're fighting inflammation on Monday. You got grain brain. You've got like all these inhibiting factors that slow you down. So now you're constantly just like chasing your tail as opposed to progressing forward. And so for me, it's just like adhering to a schedule, setting reasonable expectations, and then like, acting on those and making sure that I meet those expectations every single week. And sometimes like for me with this arm, there were times where I wasn't doing a good job, because we're always the tightest whenever that fight's in the books. But like there was times where I wasn't doing a good job of like writing down maybe like that goal for the week, and like for me, you start getting real impatient, you start getting real antsy, you start getting really stressed. Like, fuck, has it been too long? Like, how much longer is this going to take? Like, I'm not hitting the numbers I want to hit. I'm not hitting the practices I need to hit. My mind's like trying to work at 110%, and my body can only give me 65, 70%, and you start freaking out. So the only way that I found to keep sane was to like, hey, here's where you're at, and then like keep track of that. It's been 12 weeks since surgery. Here's where you're at. Here's what you did last week. Here's what you need to set for this week. So come Wednesday, I'm not looking like a fucking maniac in the PT room because I'm just stressed that I didn't, hit my 2 jiu-jitsu sessions the day before. I couldn't manage like, I mean, a fucking 8-hour workload or something. I'm only hitting like 4 or 5, and that's driving me crazy. So like, it's just like managing, like setting a full week and then adhering to that week, and just, not falling short of the plan and doing that. That's what separates good from great, are the guys that are able to do that year fucking round, as opposed to, like something I found out, bro, in this sport was like, even like visiting the PI, it's like it doesn't matter the industry you're in. There's always a benchmark of complacency, and so many people fucking fall into that bar. It's like it's astounding. Like I'll be in line and guys are like, "Oh, you're not that big for a 55." I'm like, "Oh, well, weight are you?" And they're like, "Oh, 35, 45." I'm like, "You look fucking fat. We shouldn't be the same weight, bro. Like you shouldn't be proud that we are walking around the same weight. Like I look great for you. I look like I'm 7 weeks out, 8 weeks out from a ready to hit a hard fight because I'm already in shape. I'm already within 20, 25 pounds of my weight class. Like I look solid. And guys like take pride on just being as lofty as they can in the off seasons. And they also just like act like there is a fucking off season. There is no off season, dude. This is a year round where there is no downtime. So I mean, I think like straying away from like that idea that there's like breaks or off or like even there's time. Like I've just got so much respect for everybody in the division. As much confidence as I have in myself and how I profess that, it's because I have so much respect and so much fear for the guys in this like in my fucking weight class and even in the sport that like I just it'd keep me up at night if I wasn't putting in the hours. Like I wouldn't be able to rest.
And where's your arm at right now in terms of recovery? Are you fully recovered with it?
Definitely not fully recovered, but I'm doing pretty damn good. Like I'm like I would spar with all my teammates and like trusted partners and things. I would get in really hard work. I don't know if I'd go into like a random gym and pick a guy and start going hard at it. But I feel confident within my own gym. I'm starting to hit like again like what I'm doing right now. I'd say is more than what anybody else in my position would be accomplishing if they don't have a fight in the book. So I'm hitting 3 or 4 sessions a day. My arm generally fatigues out by the end. Grappling's the hardest. So like if you were to ask me like how it is and I had like I guess a normal job, I'd say it's pretty perfect. But I mean being able to move like a trained professional and like throw him and grapple him, it's not where I need to be. It's probably at like 80% of that. And striking like hooks with a labrum tear, especially as bad as that one was, like hooks are still a problem. So I mean, there's the details. There's certain things where like I am since the fights that I kind of proposed have gotten rejected as soon as I wanted them to be, or maybe like even I felt like Pettis took like a cop out fight. But now I'm fucking glad they did because it's like, you know what? Maybe I need to take more time on this shoulder, and maybe I was rushing the recovery too much into a camp, and then I would have gotten this camp going, and I would have been 6 weeks into the camp like, okay, fuck, I'm really dealing with some hardship. So I think that trip to the Middle East, dude, that was also like a real eye opener for me on just kind of like I got to talk to a lot of really good brains with Vince Michelle and Carla and Lewis and even Shane and talk to these guys who are also veterans of the sport and like get their take on it and kind of re-level myself, take a step away, still active. I was active the whole time and then come back and I have like this fire in me, but I also have this patience where it's like, dude, you don't need to race this fucking. You don't need to rush this injury and like act like it's a race to a fight. Like I could still get in 3 to 4 fights if I start in March versus February or January,
So is March the kind of the hopeful timetable for a return?
Yeah, March is definitely the sights right now.
And you mentioned that there were some opponents that it didn't fall through. Is there someone that you'd like to that you have on your mind, or a couple potential opponents for a March return?
I'm looking at like the top 10 and the guys that haven't been relayed to me that are unbooked. Like Ali Quinta is like the first fucking one on that list.
I was thinking that too, right when I was looking at the rankings.
Yeah, and I was trying to get like I really like Pettis because of his name. It would have been a bigger fight than Al, despite Al's higher ranking. But he took this other fight in January, and so good move from him. But yeah, looking at it, I mean, Al's number 9, and it's like, okay, boom, that seems like the sure shot. So I mean, that's what I want next. If there's other availability, I'm down for whoever. But just like what I saw and who I've already heard's match in the back and things like that, I mean, that dude's wide open. So I would like to take him out of March.
So I kind of want to take you back a little bit in doing some background research. I heard you got into wrestling at around 13. Is that correct?
Yep.
And did you know at that point this was what you wanted to do, or was it just wrestling, or did you know you wanted to be a fighter? How did that kind of come about?
Fuck no, absolutely not, dude. I was just really fucking bad at everything else. So and I didn't hit puberty till like 22. So it was like, let's just let's just do some pound for pound gimmicks, like let's try to find something that you might be able to, even the odds with. And my pops wrestled, and so he was excited like to put me on to wrestling, and so yeah, I started freshman year, and really I was just doing the most. Like I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do or be. Like I remember that year I also like tried debate, and both were like honestly equally terrifying. Like just being on that head-to-head grudge match like that. Like those are fucking tough. Like you get in this room and you're supposed to have all this shit studied and prepped and like, okay, go. And you're supposed to spill out this shit. And then the other
You're not
guy
a good debater?
Rebuttal. Huh?
You weren't a good debater?
Dude, I'm a killer debater now on topics that I'm fluent and comfortable in, dude. But I mean, then it was like private versus public healthcare. And I'm like, dude, I'm not reading these fucking books. Okay. We got public. I'm chill with public. I just didn't apply myself to really anything but wrestling. I just didn't have like passions for anything. And it was like, I didn't understand the necessity of knowledge or just even like the necessity to be eager to learn until kind of later on. And now I'm like a very avid, eager learner. Like I really I like receiving information, and learning and studying. And so, back then as a fucking kid though, you just don't know what the point is. So it's like, why, like, why do I care to, why? I don't think I'm going to, everybody's go, well, I'm never going to use this. So I'm never going to practice learning. Like you want to constantly be growing your brains. For me, yeah, debate was a fucking struggle, dude. I think like one time I sat on a desk and I was like chewing gum and they just like made a mockery of me. Like my teacher shredded me to pieces. She's like, dude, you can't do that. So, I mean, it was the dude, but honestly though, that was just as nerve wracking as the wrestling thing was. And the wrestling, I was terrified. I remember like my first duel match, which is like your school versus another school. You guys line up on a Thursday, you go head to head. Like I remember just being like sick to my stomach, just with like butterflies and moths and every creature you could imagine, like in my stomach, fucking freaking out. And I went out there and won that match, which was awesome. The preseason tournament before that, I got smoked. I lost like 4 matches because it was a round robin. You shouldn't even be able to lose that much. But I just got wiped out by like every one-legged animal out there. Like it was embarrassing, the people I was losing to. And then I guess the wrestling thing, I don't know why. I just kept doing it because I didn't have anything else to do. I wasn't good at anything. So it was like, just keep doing it. You're okay at this. At least you won. You didn't score a single fucking basket in basketball last year. So at least you can do this. So then it was like, yeah, just keep doing it. And then like I started to find more of a groove sophomore year. And then by like junior year, I really found myself. And then senior year, I was, doing really, really well. And that's kind of like maybe a slower slope than what it was. It was a pretty steep slope. Like me and I had a friend, and then we got like a group of people where we were like really, really committed, and we just like killed it. We trained, tour nationally, and then we started doing national tournaments, and like we were like really good, especially for a fucking like some Texas kids, and especially San Antonio, Texas kids. So I mean, like, yeah, we were legit. And I had some kids ended up wrestling D1, D2, D3. I ended up choking at state, so I didn't go to the school I wanted to, and I didn't really want to go to D2. And so I was kind of like, that kind of burnt me out a little bit. But yeah, wrestling was, yeah, definitely like shaped me into like being a mixed martial artist for sure.
And then how did you get into MMA from that point?
In college, I started like, I just wanted to get fucking jacked. It was like freshman year, let's get fucking jacked. I've been like 112 pounds the last 4 years, so it's like let's finally put some meat on and look like a man, is what I thought. And so that's why everybody does. They just start like popping off on pre-workouts and fucking creatines and whatever else, and just trying to get jacked. And so I was just like lifting weights and wearing tank tops and just being a douche. And my uncle tore his knee, his ACL again, and he was training at this jiu-jitsu gym in San Antonio. And he was like, "Hey man, I'm out. Do you want to take the rest of this membership I'm on?" And I was like, oh, "For sure, I'll fucking try it." Like I kind of missed that yearning, that competition, that like that hands-on kind of combat. And so I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'll give it a go." And so I went in, and they loved me there because you don't have high-level wrestlers come in often. And so the head instructor there, Rodrigo, really took to me. because we have a lot of fun together, and I was able to test a lot of people on the feet, and then obviously on the ground it was like, oh, I'm in a different world. But like as far as taking people down and everything, like I was already like the best guy there on that. And even like with the head instructor, we go back and forth, but I was a 140-pound kid and he was like 190 something pound man, so it was just eventually he'd fuck me. But one time I took him down and made this like huge eccentric celebration about it. It was awesome. But yeah, dude, I just started I started training. I just started going, like I would do jujitsu and Muay Thai there. And then I started doing jujitsu during the day also. And so I just started like spending, my afternoons there, my evenings there. And like it was freshman year. So it was really easy to just like not be in class. Most of them weren't attendance, and they weren't really, they weren't like, I don't know, just really detailed. They were very generic surface level classes, so it was pretty easy to just kind of like skim over them, take an Adderall the night before an exam and pop off, and so that's what I was doing. That's really what shaped me was my girlfriend at the time introduced me. She was a year older and she like introduced me to Adderall, and I was like, okay, well, I guess we could do this. And that's a cheat code of life. Not that I fucking recommend that shit on, like any other, not at all anymore. I've it's a terrible. Kids try to stay away from that, but when you need it, you need it. But yeah, I just like I really took to it, and then the prices were so high on it. I don't know why I never try to negotiate with them or like talk out like a deal for it. Whenever my uncle's membership ended, and his wife just kind of hit me with like a price, and I should have like, I could have talked to him about it, but I just didn't. I don't know why. And so I ended up not going to that gym, and then my roommate took me like months down the road, was like, hey, I'm training at this gym. And it was this guy that he met at Lifetime Fitness. I don't know if you know what that is, just like a big gym, who was just like working on these puzzle mats on the basketball court. And he had just barely like gotten started. And he had this little shack that he called Ohana Academy. And he was doing classes at Lifetime to try to draw interest and bring people in. And he was just a purple belt at the time. And like I don't know why the fuck I started going with this guy, but I guess we just like clicked. And I remember telling my dad, like, and this isn't true for everybody. This is not true for everybody, but I was like, I don't even know. I mean, I'm barely a fucking white belt, so what do I need a black belt for? This purple belt knows everything is kicking my ass. Like I should just stay with him. And which isn't necessarily always true. Like generally, if you have a black belt, that guy's got way more details, than the purple belt. You want to listen to the black belt. But there's just something about Jason, and it was like we just clicked, and it was like everything he was showing me was like just what I need to know. And he just had an answer for everything, and his answers were uncontested in competition, and it was like, damn, okay, we got something going here. And he was a competitor himself, so he was always growing. And that's like one of the biggest things to me in a coach is like having a hungry coach that's competing too is so different than having a retired coach, because then you not only have a coach, you have a teammate. Mm-hmm. And then that coach is constantly developing with you. You never get stagnant. He's constantly on the new waves of like just what you need to be privy to for generations, like for the next wave. And so yeah, we've been thick and thin since, and I've been with him for 9 years now. And so yeah, that's pretty much, that's the wrap.
And at what point were your parents supportive of you becoming a professional MMA fighter? Or what triggered you to be like, okay, I want to fully make a career out of this? I know that you were I had read that it was after I think you tore your MCL and meniscus, you were working a good job. And then but you couldn't really, perform as you'd like to. And then you kind of found MMA again and kind of went full-fledged into the profession.
Yeah, I guess like going through school the whole time, I started getting into it. I went to school for finance, just kind of as like a backup plan, really, because like the whole time I was thinking, I'm just gonna do this fucking fighting thing, and that's just gonna be my bit. Like I'm gonna fight, and finance will be a backup plan, but I'll just do it for insurance because like my family wants me to have a degree and shit, so I'll just do it. And my dad's is a bro's bro, and like he's like a Marine and shit, and he's all about combat. Like he wrestled, he did all this shit, so he's like, more power to you, get after it. My grandparents, not so much, they're like, fuck that completely, fuck that. But now obviously, and even in the transition over, they supported me. Um, but yeah, the whole plan was always to be a mixed martial artist. And then I had that knee injury, and just being young and impatient and also knowledgeable, I didn't like realize resources or remedies to rehab that knee as quickly and efficiently as possible. So I was kind of like, I feel like a bum. Like I just graduated. I'm not doing shit. Sitting on the couch. I'm not even training. Like I feel like a fucking just loser. So I'm just gonna get a job. And so I got a job, and I started out as this front desk reception lady, and then I worked in this mortgage company, and then I worked my way back into like being a loan officer, and yeah, I was killing it. And then I was still fighting, but then I decided like fighting was causing way too much stress and anxiety, and I was just like, I wasn't enjoying it at all. Like I had this big title fight where I won a good guapa change, and it was like the most miserable process ever, and I just wanted to get the fuck out of there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm done, dude. I'm so done with this shit.
What was it about it that
And
was stressing you out or giving you anxiety, you think?
just all of it. Like I just like the car right there. I remember sitting in the fucking car, just like, why the fuck am I doing this, dude? This feels so shitty. I hate this feeling in my chest. Like, I just want to get the fuck out of this car. I feel terrible. Like I was just like filled with like fear and angst and uncertainty, and like I was never performing. Like I never performed the way I wanted to. Same problem I had like in wrestling a lot of times. Like at the end, like against these big matches, like I just wasn't fucking performing, and I would just go out there and it would just be a huge adrenaline dump, and it would just be like whatever happened happened, and nobody come out on top. And that's even what the fuck that fight was. And so it was like, and I'm very honest with myself, and so like I don't like play this thing where it's like, oh, you need to be a fighter, that's just like what you're doing and shit. So like for me it was like, you're not showing out, you can't do this, you're not enjoying it, so stop fucking trying, let's just stick to your job. But I just kept training. Like it was like, you're just going to keep training, and I couldn't let the idea of like the other guys getting better than me. So like I still wanted to be in the gym very actively. I just didn't want to compete anymore. Maybe do some jiu-jitsu bullshit or something, but I didn't want to be like, I didn't want to be fighting anymore. And then my coach hand job, my pad holder, he like coerced me into taking this LFA fight that was in San Antonio against like the Tapology #4 dude. And because I had like so much security and confidence I developed in my job, I just like showed out and murked the fuck out of this dude. And I was like, okay, dude, well if you can do that, then you should just fucking do that every time, bro. And so then it was like, okay, we're back on the scene, like we're gonna do this fighting thing. Um, and then I got like, it just put this fire in me that like, oh, I can do it. I am capable of doing this. Like all the doubts you had about being incapable of showing up, you showed up, you showed yourself you're capable. Be the guy you want to fucking be. Quit being this bitch. So then I just started chased it heavy, started enjoying myself in the cage with like the confidence that like, if shit doesn't work out, there's other ways to make money. I can make money doing fucking anything. I could be successful in a number of fucking avenues if I put my mind to it. I know that now. I don't need fighting. Fighting is going to need me. So let me just go balls out. Let me like make it like an indelible stamp that people will never forget, and like, you know, leave a true mark on the sport. So that's kind of the turn I took.
Where do you think you got this work ethic? I mean, you know, there's one thing that kind of stands out from even looking at all your interviews, even now, it's just that whatever, you know, you talk about whatever avenue you go in, you knew you were going to find success, but it's not just confidence, but it's also, you know, you work hard. Have you always been like that? Is it who instilled that in you? Were you always like that from a young age?
I've always had a good head on my shoulders, but I think like the true work, whenever I had something worth working for, it felt like, which was wrestling for me. So wrestling was like whenever I kind of like, I felt like put those big boy pants on and like got to work. Because I'd always like good student, always got in trouble for like talking and general shit and popping off, and you know, but I always like did fine. I always did like A's and B's, and I was good, and never really worked that hard. And then like wrestling, I like worked hard. I worked really hard, and then I found the rewards, you know, of that work, and like the feeling of like true sacrifice, and like the feeling of like lows and highs, and like being obsessed with that, the reality of it all, you know, instead of, I don't know, the facade of a day job, or even like just fucking general studies or whatever the fuck else, you know, like almost that like life or death feeling. And um and then it was more of just like my determination to be successful. Like I just, and also I always had this idea that like I just can't be ordinary. Like just fuck like we all have such opportunity to not be like, because the idea of ordinary is so subpar and insufficient that it's like nobody should be ordinary. Like there shouldn't even like this shouldn't even be a real fucking word, you know? Like everybody has the ability to be inordinary and extraordinary. And so for me, it was like, dude, I'm not gonna fucking die just some Joe. Like I'm just not. And so I think just the older I got, the more that reality became pending, like and really impeding that. Like I just had to do more, be more, for more, you know. Like and yeah, I mean, I guess that's it. I just kind of have this determination. And then even when I was doing the work and the fighting thing, it was like I don't know which avenue I want to do, and it kept me up at night a lot. I lost a lot of sleep and just had a lot of stress over like what's the right choice. And at the time, which really I don't feel that anymore, but at the time I just wanted to be successful. It's like whatever gives me the most success, and so I'm just going to do the absolute most in both. I don't know which road to take. I don't know which is the right direction, but I'm just going to do the fucking most with everything I got because I just like have this inability to be okay knowing that I didn't complete the work or that I didn't give it like my all. As cliche as that might seem, like I have an extreme unrest, like sitting on the couch, just smoking weed, eating Reese's Puffs, and watching Netflix, knowing that like there's a whole list of goals to be accomplished, objectives to be overcome, and just like tasks that you need to achieve in order to like fucking be something. So like for me, it was just like I just can't fucking sit around and not do anything, or even like call a day early. Like people get done with fucking work at like 5 or 6 o'clock, and they go to a fucking bar, or they just like do some fucking chest press and like jerk off, and I don't even know what the fuck they do, but like it's like what do you do from 5 to like 11 or 12 p.m. when you actually go to sleep? What that's a whole fucking day. That's 7 hours. You know, you have 6 to 7 hours there. It's like what do you do? And like so many people would just fucking chill. So it's like I would work my dick off in the office, and the second I got done, I go to the gym. I'm training for 3 or so hours, and I'm trained in the morning also. And it was just like that's what days are. That's what days should look like. And so whenever I got out of the office and I started training full time, I had this idea that guys were just fucking in the gym all day. I was like, fuck, I gotta play catch up. Like these guys are killing all day. And I get here and I'm like, you motherfuckers are doing as much as I was doing with a full time job, bro. Like the top 5, no, those motherfuckers play for keeps. There's no jokes there. Top 10, even probably not. Even top 15, even slack some. Yeah, everybody else, most fucking ordinary guys in the world. But those elite, that's what I've always tried to be like. And so for me, it's like I'm used to working 12, 15-hour days of grind sessions where I have deadlines. And so what I'm doing is I get up and I fucking every day, every hour is purposeful. And if it's not, that eats me alive. Like I hate killing time. I don't kill time. You know, I utilize time. So like that alone is I think again what separates us. You know, like the idea of like it's okay to kill time.
So now I'm curious about your UFC debut. I think that was what it was 222. And against Beneil Dariush, who's a tough, seasoned, savvy veteran, and you just on short notice walk in there and fucking steamroll him 42 seconds. What's going on in your I'm sure you partied the fuck after that, but
that was the best time of my life, for sure. That was the best time.
Will you talk about one when you get the call? I don't know if it's how it happened, but you get the call that you're fighting on short notice at a huge pay-per-view event, and against a good opponent, and then your confidence leading up to that, and then the performance was fantastic, and then I'm curious about the after party and the celebration as well.
Yeah. So yeah, going into that was insane. I was getting ready again. Like this, that's why I got so fucking spiritual over this whole thing. I'm like, God, universe, it all has a plan for me, because I was getting ready for. I just quit my job. I'm fucking sitting in my car, just saying hey and bye to oncoming traffic in my pops' driveway. I quit my job in January. I had this fight lined up in March. My grandparents were asking me like, how long are you gonna do this for before you're just like, all right, I need to get a job again. I'm like, don't worry about that. Like, I'll do it for as long as I need to. It won't take long. Like, I'll be where I need to be by the end of this year. I have absolutely no doubt about that. Because I was already on like a hot LFA run. I felt like I was like, a fight or two away from getting the call. So I was getting ready for a local promotion, and yeah, I was a week out, and so my weight was right. Everything was good. The stars just really aligned for me. And my manager calls me. I had like all these crazy missed calls. I had fucking hand jobs show up to this like gym. I was like in this like little like exclusive sequestered away gym out like middle of nowhere. Fucking I'm like stretching. I like roll over, open my eyes, a fucking hand job standing over me, John. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? And he's like, well, I've been looking for you everywhere. I look at my phone. My manager House has been calling him, and he's like, he's like, yeah, you got to call Jason House back. He's been trying to get a hold of you. He acts like somebody just fucking died. And I'm like, okay. So I call him back, and he's like, hey man, it looks like there might be an opening on UFC 222 this next week, and it's in, it's in 7 days or 6 days, whatever it is. Do you want the fight? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I want the fight, bro. Just submit it for me. Let him know I want the fight. He's like, okay, cool. And then I didn't even really ask any questions. I didn't like bother anything. It was just like done. So then I get off the phone with him, and then he calls me back later on or whatever. Or maybe I called him to see like how it was looking, because then he got me so hyped up. So if I went from like going to the T-Mobile arena to going back to this fucking Cowboys dance hall that I was going to fight at, like I probably would have lost that fight, because like I would have been so fucking, like discouraged, my head would have just been so displaced, and so I call him, and he's like who are we looking? I mean, like, by the way, who the fuck am I fighting? Like, who fell through? What's it looking like? And he's like, all right, so it's either gonna be, I don't even know how this made sense now, but he's like, it's either gonna be Beneil Dariush or Amin Mercier. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm gonna fight either one of these guys. I'm like, I guess maybe it was like Dariush was either gonna completely pull out, and then Mercier and me were gonna completely fill in, or Dariush would take the short notice fight also, which kudos to him for doing that. And so he, honestly, and this is how bad of a fucking fan I am, bro. Like now I watch it very religiously, but before I only watched select opponent. Like I only watched guys that like I just wanted to emulate and admire, and I stalked their careers. I did that across like the board for any facet, right? So I didn't really know much about either one of these guys. I recognized them, but I didn't know anything about either one of them. And so I was just like, okay, whatever. And then at first I was like, oh, well, Mercier looks pretty big. I'm like, but he looks more grappler. I can handle him around. I was like, Jay Yush guy doesn't really look too intimidating either, but let me look him up. And I started watching like, I got the official green light by like midnight, maybe that night or something. That was fucking, obviously didn't sleep for like 2 days, like I got that alert, and it was like, I remember driving home, getting into New Braunfels, and like being in the parking lot, getting that notice, and just being like, the whole world just stopped. And I was like, fuck, dude. I'm in the UFC now, dude. What the fuck? I just quit my job. This is crazy. It's so crazy. And I'm just I blow up. I've got like two like best friend group chats essentially. So I like hit all the homies with like, we're in, and then I called all my coaches, my dad. And then, so nobody slept, right? There's no sleeping that night. And then even the next day was kind of rocky. But then I made the mistake of like starting to watch a little bit too much tape of Dariush. I'm like watching him fight Barbosa and shit. And he was bringing it to Barbosa and like getting better looks on him before he got caught with that knee. And I'm like, fuck, this dude was piecing up Barbosa. And I'm watching him like knock out these other guys. I'm like, oh, dude, this guy's pretty legit. And I'm like, all right, fuck, okay, we'll stop. And so then I was like, stop watching tape, because like the next day I'd be wearing him on me, and so I'm thinking about him too much, not thinking enough about me. And so I cut that shit out immediately. Started only thinking about myself, thinking about like I watched the way that he approached fights, and I was like, okay, he's a slow stalker. He needs to control the cage. He needs to dominate the opponent's side of the ring, meaning that he's got to press your back against the cage in order to really become his most proficient self and his most effective self. So for me, it was like, I need to close that gap as quick as possible, use my speed, strength. And I'm a sharp striker. I'm sharp everywhere. And technically I'm tighter than I think anybody else, period. So for me, it was like, he's going to be experienced, going to be very strong. He's going to have like really nice tricks, but I can get straight down the middle to the point much faster than he can and do it more technically. So it was like, I need to sprint through this motherfucker, hit him with something immediate to disrupt his whole cadence, throw him off, and then immediately start to take control on his side before he gets a chance to do that on my side. And And so that was kind of like the loose, quick knitted game plan. And then I was moving around with my coach Kilgore, Jason Kilgore, my strength mobility coach, and we started doing this like lion primal ass like stance and warm up and then build up into our feet. And so then that's where that cross position started coming from. And it was like, okay. And then, cause then it puts you in the mindset in the moment. So I knew the second I braced myself in that 3-point stance or that 4-point stance, it was like, okay, it's game time. And now don't worry about anything else. Don't focus, just execute the plan, execute the plan, execute the plan. And we rehearsed and rehearsed. And I had a few combos I really liked, but just a cadence that I wanted to keep and a pressure. And then I just figured things would start opening up for me and I could start flowing organically once I started letting off a few of these combos. And I don't know what it was, dude, just something in the air, but like every day we just got so much more confident, so much more certain as a whole team, because the thing in the beginning was like, honestly, like I'm still so impressed with us for like pulling it together the way we did and getting that done. Cause it was like, got the notice, didn't really sleep much, didn't sleep at all, didn't sleep much. They flew to Vegas and I was like, all right, man, talking to Yarrington, my head coach. All right, let's get off this plane. Let's go get an Epsom salt bath. Let's take a nap. Let's go hit the gym. Fuck all that. Drop in, dude picks you up, takes you straight to the fucking what's it called? Hotel. And or not even it was like it might have been the main hotel. Yeah, I guess it was. And we started doing poster signings, fittings, interviews, all this shit. You've got all these fucking UFC fighters you've been looking at walking past you, some mugging you. I remember I walked by to like grab this water thing off the ground. I go to grab it, and as I'm like getting up, I see this hand like getting in my face, and I look up and it's Dariush. I'm like, like so taken off guard. I was like, oh fuck, I hope I didn't fuck up that first introduction, dude. I was just so unprepared. Like the whole thing was just sensory overload. Then we went to the PI and we go to the PI, and the first fucking asshole I see, Michael Chiesa, the biggest son of a bitch of all time, dude. Michael Chiesa, this was when he was at 55, right before he went 70. He's a giant. He's a fucking giant. And I walk in there and I'm like, dude, this is what the fuck I've got to look forward to. Like, this is like my introduction. I'm like, this is what the 55s look like in the UFC. Fuck, dude, maybe I do need to go 45. Fuck. And this is what I'm thinking of 4 days before my fight, you know? And so it's like, it was just sensory overload. And then we like ran into Dariush like 5 times, and the PI and his guys are mean mugging me. I'm mugging about all this shit. So it's just like, you know, fuck all this hostility. I don't like this. So then after that, we found shelter in Couture's gym out there in Vegas, and we were hitting that every day, getting fucking great work. It was grimy like my gym. It felt like home. There was no other influencers or no other competitors there, and so it was really nice just to have like the solace of the gym to myself. And we just started like articulating this plan and started articulating the confidence behind it. And every day I just like gained so much confidence, so much certainty. The weight cut was the best I've ever had in my life. Not like it's ever hard, but it was literally butter. It was just so easy and smooth off. And I lined up for that fight. And by the time the fight actually came around, it was like, there's no way this guy makes it out of the first round. Like, I'm so fucking confident there's no way this guy makes it out of the first round. And then it just happened the way it happened, and that was awesome. And then it just felt like, you know, I was a celestial being floating around the cage. Super, you know, it was just like just the most surreal experience you could ever have. And then we're like, my coach always jokes about John, about like, you know, we get done, we eat, we're grabbing all of our stuff, and they're like escorting us out, and they opened up the doors, and we're like in the back alley of the team mobile, like, oh wait, boom, and they just shut the doors, and you're like, oh, all right, well, I guess it's fucking over. Like, it's over because you can't go back into the arena when it's done. So you just get done. Like, I didn't need to see the doctor. So like, you just get checked real quick. You go maybe grab some food. They're just like, walkie. Then boom, you're out of the arena. And so we're like, oh, okay. And we were just left with our shit there in Vegas. The hotel's right across the street, you know, so it was chill. But yeah, we all had like breakdown moments that night where we all like cried at some point. I happened to cry in front of Big Sean, which is fucking awesome. You know, I love Big Sean. So we went to this show. I forgot at what club it was at, but my buddy, this little planner, this Jew friend of mine who just like loves orchestrating shit, and so he put it all together for us, and we went straight to this club, ran into Tyrone Woodley there. That was dope. We had we were like table side next to Big Sean throwing down. I was like, dude, like, these like chicks come out with these bottles, like they bring out this belt for me. I got this belt and fucking little sparklers on the dumbass bottles are going off, and Big Sean's playing, and I just fucking got the 50 grand bonus news, and it was just the most like insane, surreal, and I was just like crying at one point where I was just like, I can't even stop myself, and I'm not ashamed to do it either. I'm just gonna keep crying for a minute, and everybody, dude, and I'll tell you what, there's nothing like a post-fight celebration and being around those people who love you most, and even the extension of those people who just like you a lot and want to be a part of the shit, because the energy is so electric. It's so high. It's so palpable. Like, it's so positive. It's so fucking positive. The energy's so positive. And like, you're not chasing anything. It's not like when you're going out and you're like, oh, we gotta go here for a better song or chicks or drinks or whatever fucking dumbass thing you're chasing. It's already there. You got it. And your crew's got it. You guys are just so fucking happy to be around each other. Everyone's so happy for the purest purpose, for the purest reasons. And like, it's hard to party purely like that. You know what I mean? And that's the way anybody should party. You know, like purity. And it was fuck, dude. It was like true celebration. And that's like when I really like, I feel guilty. I don't like to be an asshole or like go on these benders or do anything else otherwise, because it's like, what have I earned? What have I accomplished? What's the purity behind it? I feel like I'm just chasing something. It's not there. Let me go earn that shit, and then let me go have a reason to, you know, celebrate.
So, I mean, you've 4 fights in the UFC, 3-1, so you've got more celebrations than not. And from the so you know, you go from the Dariush fight, then you have a good another win over Aubin Mercier next. And then the Cowboy fight didn't go your way. Do you feel like do you take away the most from your wins, or from your losses, or do you feel like the Cowboy fight was even though it didn't go your way, you were able to take a lot from that because you are still young and have all the potential in the world, and not to mention that the UFC, they thrust you into a big spot like that. They have a lot of confidence and they want to promote you.
Yeah, I would say I definitely learned the most from the Cowboy fight because it had to make me face everything. So like the Dariush fight was just an utter success. It was like, okay, and I still took things from it. Like, okay, you were a little too impulsive on the draw sometimes. Like, you were overextending and reaching for some things where you should have slowed down and like taking a breath. And really, that's when I got the knockout. But it was so glamorous, so good that it was like, okay, we just need to kind of play like that, maybe not overreach some things. When the Mercier fight came, and I was so upset about that performance because I felt like I kind of crashed going in there. I had this like killer warm up. It was like awesome. It was just awesome, but we didn't compensate for. I was the introduction to the main card, and there was like all of like the ads and all that shit that has to happen, like the networking bullshit, and there were just longer time lags than I projected. And so I found myself like just pacing for by the time the fight started, it was like 40 fucking 5 minutes of pacing. And it was like, so like by the time that fight started, like I felt my knees and my shoulders and my neck, like all these things where it was like, okay, all that hype. I felt like God, like at one moment. And then like we just waited long enough to where it was like, okay, I don't feel like anything more than like some fucking hunk of shit. Like, I just feel terrible, dude. And that fight started, and I was so flat. I wasn't feeling myself at all. It was terrible. And then like I went from that into just like tumbling into a ball of anxiety and just like forcing things through the fight. Just not performing the way I wanted. I was just beating my ass that whole fight, just beating my fucking. I keep saying every single fight, it's me versus me featuring whoever. So, like in that fight, it was just like I was just beating my ass that whole time, just like discrediting myself, getting upset. Nothing was good enough. I never slowed down and compose myself and think like, yeah, we need a reset. I need a reset. And I didn't want to look at that fight. I didn't want to fucking see it because I was so disappointed in it. And I was like, that's not you. You don't need to look at that shit. That's not really you. And you don't want to see yourself like that. And then ignorantly enough, I moved on like that when I should have fucking stared at it a billion times and like watched myself so I could recognize when I'm doing it again and be like, oh no, don't do that, dude. Because if you watch something enough, like I'm very much a visual learner like that also. So like I see things, I can just do it, and then I see things I can recognize when I'm doing it or when I'm doing something that someone else is doing, So I go in the cowboy fight and I do the exact same thing, except for this time I came out hot. I felt great. I learned a lot about nutrition since then. I was really shooting myself in the fucking dick this whole time. And so I came in way carb depleted compared to what I should have been. Uh, and so I really blew my tank way too fucking early with all the excitement, the intensity of it all, just being on that big of a stage that early. Um, yeah, I kind of blew my load, so that was a nutrition factor. But what I did though was the exact same thing I did in the Mercier fight. I except for the Cowboy fight, I came in hot, felt great, started fucking him up, got a big edge, had him. Really, I look as I had him, but instead of just being like, oh dude, you got this wound animal in front of you, take your time on the kill, you got him, dude. You're gonna keep breaking him. It was like, we gotta take him out right now. Why isn't he going out right now? You should have already taken him out. Like I had this idea that I was just gonna fucking touch him a few times and he was gonna die. It was like nobody's gonna be like that, bro. If it happens, it happens. But these guys are top 10 competitors. You know, they're not gonna fall out for anybody. You know, and so once I was able to recognize that, I mean, afterwards, I fucking didn't recognize the moment, but in the moment, I found myself doing all the same shit I did in the Mercier fight, overreaching, tumbling into like chaotic scrambles that weren't to my benefit. All these things that were like, uh, just repeats to my detriment, you know, all the things that I was doing before. And it was like, fuck, if I could have studied that and saw and like just faced my weaknesses and addressed them preemptively, I could have probably avoided a lot of fucking issues that I ran into at Cowboy. But I was like too, I don't know, maybe too proud, too. I mean, really, I was just too scared. I was too nervous uh, to look at that. Like, I just didn't want to see myself like that because I thought it was going to be bad for me to do that. But like, the truth is, you got to face the truth, uh, and I mean that's like that alone is what you'll grow on. So for me, like that cowboy fight made me face those truths and like taught me a lot about composure, having to settle down. Um, but it also did sit me down a huge spiral of doubt too for a bit there when I was like, I don't know how to slow down. I don't know how to compose myself. I don't know how to fight differently. You know I'm fucking better than these guys. I know I am. Like I think I'm fucking eons above Cowboy. I think if I ever fuck, I'd fucking murder him. But how'd I lose? Experience. I lost on experience. I lost on acting impulsively. I lost on losing my fucking cool. I didn't lose on a technical default. It was like is so much in here. Like in my mind, there's so many things I was watching. I would slip a two, not fire, and be like, why aren't you fucking firing, dude? And I even had this thought like McGregor would have taken him out right there. You would have taken him out right there, and you fucking slipped your left hand. Why aren't you firing? What the fuck are you doing? And just like all these things where it's like, just they're tolls of the task over time. Like it's like you have to put the time in. And so, like I put in. I only got a fight twice this year, but I have so many fucking miles from those fights. I fought two like the most prestigious veterans in the fucking organization, let alone my weight class, and I learned so much from those fights, so fucking much. And for me, it's like if I can come in, I can compose and control, which is like the truth for like fucking anybody, I guess. But if I can do that, I know I have like the skill, the strength, the speed, the prowess to murk these dudes out. That cowboy fight, whether it was a fight maybe I shouldn't have lost, maybe should fight I should have lost, shouldn't have, should have, I don't know, because time's gonna tell for that one. Maybe it was exactly what I needed, and that's like what one of my best friends says. Like this is gonna have to be exactly what you need. It's gonna have to be the best thing that ever happened to you because you're gonna have to slingshot 180 rebound off this thing, and so that definitely taught me the most. And even the Trinaldo fight again, I wasn't thrilled with my performance in that fight, and I only had one fucking arm going into it, but I learned a lot. I learned so much. And like I had so much clarity in that cage that the thought of my next fight, which I didn't have going into that fight, uh, is supremely more confident, more clear.
Do you believe that you'll be UFC champion one day?
Of course. I wouldn't be doing this for any other fucking reason if I did. I said it before. I'm not in this business to participate. Like there is no pride in participation for me. Like getting a little fucking UFC patch saying you did it. Like sure, that's great and all. And then I go out, at least I made it this far. But again, I didn't get this far just to get this far. The only reason I do anything is to be the best in it. Same thing when I was in the fucking business world. I wasn't just trying to be an okay guy at my job. I want to be the best. I want to own that company. I want to have a fucking bank of my own. Same thing with here.
Do you set goals for yourself? Do you set a goal for, I want to be UFC champion by 2020, 2021, or is that not how you process things?
No, I've been saying like 2021 I want to have, and that's when I should have it. 2021 if I'm, unless like injury or something else slows me down, which it shouldn't, unless it happens inside of a fight. 2021 is like that projected date, because I want to get 3 fights in to 4 fights in next year. I want to be very active. And so if I can do that, there's no reason 2021 isn't. Or even if it's 3 fights, I get another fight 2021, and I have to, maybe it's my second fight of the year, but there's no reason 2021 is not the fucking year for me. It needs to be the year for me. It has to be. Like that. That's the goal. That's what I'm continuing to reiterate.
And I mean, you're 27 now. You have so much time ahead, but 2021. I hope that for you. And when it's all said and done, what do you hope your legacy is as a fighter, as a man? I mean, you still are super young, but do you think about that ever?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've necessarily I thought about leaving a legacy of greatness and inspiration. And if anything else, I want to leave a legacy of inspiration. I want to encourage others to be more for them fuck themselves before anything else, but then for others. And so above all, I want to leave a legacy of inspiration, but then of greatness, indelible greatness. And I want to be convincingly the best to do it. So, I mean, I guess that would be, my thought behind that.
Beautiful. You can find Alex on Instagram and on Twitter at thegreat155. Alex, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. I wish you a speedy recovery for that shoulder. I want to see you hopefully in March, hopefully 3 or 4 times back in the cage. And if you should get on that Brooklyn card, April 18th, come back to Brooklyn and we'll party it up here or wherever. I hope one day I get to meet you and I wish you nothing but the best, man.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate the time, man.